So today we're going to be taking a look at all three of the Bleu de Chanel fragrances. We have Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette, obviously where it all started, where the whole blue fragrance hype began with this bad boy right here. Then we're going to be taking a look at Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum, which was obviously the second fragrance that they released, very successful as well. This one kind of ended up overshadowing the Eau de Toilette after it had been out for a few years. And then of course we have the Parfum version, which is the newest runner-up, which is the newest addition to the Bleu de Chanel line. Again, a very popular and very successful fragrance DNA and fragrance line. This one was anticipated quite a bit because, obviously Bleu de Chanel EDP was very successful, even more successful than the EDT, at least in my opinion. So we were really waiting for another version to come out, thus the Parfum. So this is going to be another one of my buying guide videos. You guys should be used to seeing these by now, and you should kind of get a general idea of what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to try to briefly touch on all three of these fragrances. We're going to briefly touch on the scent of all of them, talk about the performance, and really I'll just tell you which ones I think are worth picking up. And of course, I do want to hear from you guys. What are your favorite Bleu de Chanel flankers? Let me know down below in the comments. Is your favorite the original EDT? Do you still like the EDP? What are your thoughts on the new Parfum? Obviously, the Parfum is still relatively new, and it also is the most expensive out of all of them. So that one, is not one that everyone has tried yet, and that, almost everyone is familiar with, like a lot of people are with the EDP, which has been out for a while, and of course the EDT as well. So let me know down in the comments your thoughts on these, and I will try to link to these below on discounters if I can find them. Chanel's obviously are weird on discount websites. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. I'll try to do my best down below, so maybe I can save you a couple bucks, but there's no guarantees. So I hope you guys are ready to get into this one. We're going to go and start off with the Eau de Toilette. Now, this one, without a doubt, is going to be the freshest out of all of them. This one opens up with that signature grapefruit note that Bleu de Chanel is known for, but along with that grapefruit, you get just a little bit of lemon and a little bit of mint, kind of going with that prominent grapefruit note. So it's definitely highly citrus based in the opening. You also get a little bit of a spicy kick from the ginger and the pink pepper note that is in there. So again, it's a little bit spicy, it's a little bit fresh. I mean, it's Bleu de Chanel. It's a masterpiece of a fragrance. It's breathtaking. It smells great. What can you expect from the opening of a scent like this? Now, the smoky incense comes into play, which gives it a mature and sexy vibe. Again, that incense grapefruit note is what this fragrance is known for. It's iconic. It's the signature Bleu de Chanel smell, and it's just absolutely incredible. Seriously, this stuff, you guys, I'm sure you know, but if you don't, it's amazing. If anyone who hasn't tried any of the Bleu de Chanel fragrances, give it a shot. Yes, they are more expensive, but I mean, this scent DNA is just incredible. It's so worth it. It's honestly a masterpiece. So performance on this one is going to be about average. About 7 hours on my skin is typically what I'm getting from this scent. In terms of projection, it's not going to be, the strongest projecting fragrance out there. And honestly, it's not going to be the strongest projecting from the rest of the line either, which may surprise you, being that this is an Eau de Toilette concentration. Typically, EDTs will project more than higher concentrated versions like EDPs and Parfums, but I don't find that to be the case here with this one. I don't know if it's a reformulation thing, being that this is the oldest, from the line. I don't know. I can't speak on that. I don't have any experience with like older bottles or anything like that. This is a new bottle, 2019 production, so I can't talk about vintage stuff, but I'm just telling you kind of my experience here with projection. It's not going to be the best projecting of the line. Of course, up next here we have the EDP. This one's pretty much the most talked about from the line. For the most part, when you hear people talk about and mention Bleu de Chanel, most of the time they're going to be holding up the EDP bottle, although not always. The Parfum is thrown around, even sometimes the EDT is thrown around, but I would say for the most part, this guy's going to be the most popular. Now, this one, pretty darn similar to the Eau de Toilette here. This is a true EDP fragrance in my opinion. The opening, you do get that beautiful grapefruit lemon in the opening with some incense coming in and the addition of amber. So, that grapefruit incense is still there, is still prominent. although it's not quite as bright and citrus heavy as the Eau de Toilette. That amber that I mentioned gives it just almost a little bit of a warm, somewhat metallic type of vibe, and this is kind of really what started that whole amber ambroxan wave of fragrances. This is kind of, in my opinion, where it came from, more so the EDP than the EDT. That's at least how I look at it. But this one does smell absolutely incredible. For me, the incense note is brought up a little bit here in this version compared to the Eau de Toilette, which I personally love. That grapefruit incense combination is my favorite part about the scent DNA, and the fact that they did increase it here in the EDP is awesome for me. And again, like I mentioned earlier, this is a true EDP concentration. It, for the most part, takes that original DNA and just makes it stronger, makes it just a little bit of an improvement and a more well-rounded version of the original EDT. At least that's how I look at it. Both still are mature. You know, the EDT is still a very mature, classy scent, but this one almost takes it up to the next level. Those kind of harsh edges are smoothed out a little bit, and this one overall just comes across a bit more refined. Longevity on this one, on my skin, about 8 hours, 8.5 maybe, somewhere in there, so a little bit better than the Eau de Toilette, and about moderate projection as well. I find on me that this one actually projects better than the Eau de Toilette, so again, that's kind of weird. You wouldn't necessarily expect that, but that's what I get on my skin. So overall, in my opinion, I would choose the EDP over the Eau de Toilette. Again, it's going to be better performing. It's going to be a bit more refined, a bit more well-rounded. And overall, I think it's just the EDT, but done to a better extent. Now, do I regret owning the EDT in my collection? No, absolutely not. I oftentimes like to layer them. Sometimes I'll layer all three together just because I can. But I will oftentimes choose the EDT for really, really hot days when I don't want to go with the EDT or the Parfum because they are sweeter. The EDT works great more in the high heat. But for you guys out there being practical about this, I would say for most of you, you can probably skip over the EDT version and go straight for this one, the EDP. That's just kind of how I look at it. And finally, the last one we're going to be talking about here is the Parfum version. Now, this one I also really, really enjoy. You get this nice, bright lemon zest in the opening, which is incredibly invigorating. It smells amazing. Along with that, you get a little bit of bergamot as well, which is giving it somewhat of a tart and sour type of feel as well. You'll find that this one dries down a little bit more sweet with lavender woods and amber wood in the dry down, and I find that the amber wood in this one is more prominent than the amber wood in the EDP version. So, you know, like I talked about, that amber wood, kind of ambroxany smelling thing that has started a whole monster trend of ambroxan fragrances. I find that they did increase that note in here compared to the EDP, probably because they saw how wildly successful it was with the rollout of all the Sauvage fragrances and, you know, Dylan Blue, everything like that. You guys know what I'm talking about by this point. So I do find that the amber wood is increased in this Parfum version, which for me personally, I like. I like that aspect about the EDP, and the fact that they, you know, bumped it up here in this one, I really like as well. I do find that this version has even more of a nighttime and somewhat mysterious factor to it. Now, you will notice here that the lettering on the front isn't white like in the EDT and the EDP. It's, I don't know, what would you call that? Just off-white, like a bit, you know, warm colored. I don't really know what you would call it, to be honest with you. But it's just, you know, it's not white like the other version. It's just a little bit reddish, kind of toned back a little bit. And for me, I think that's kind of really perfect about how the fragrance smells, like what it smells like inside, you know, the way that they tone the lettering back like that. And also, if you look at the atomizer, it is black, whereas the other ones, it was silver. So that kind of gives you an idea here of what the scent inside is going to smell like before you even actually smell it. It's going to be somewhat of a darker, heavier, sweeter version, even more so compared to the EDP, and that I really like. So I find that performance on this one is incredible as well. Longevity, I'm getting about 9.5 hours, sometimes even pushing 10, which honestly surprised me so much. For the longest time, I put off actually buying bottles of these fragrances because I figured they just weren't going to perform, and so I didn't want to really spend the money on them, but I ended up biting the bullet. I sold my little 50 ml bottle of Bleu de Chanel EDP a while back. I've been craving it, and I decided to just pull the trigger and get all of them, all in the 150 ml size. And I was like, you know what? If they don't have good performance, I don't care. I want the fragrance. I'll wear it no matter what. And again, I was shocked with the performance of all of these. They all have performed really decently, and especially this one. So like I said, about 9.5, pushing 10 hours longevity, and projection on this parfum is really good as well, which was another thing that surprised me. Typically these parfum concentrations, they just don't have it in them for projection, but this one really does push out probably about the same as the EDP, sometimes on me, if not a little bit better. So I do find that for the most part, this is going to be the best performing out of the line, which I think is great. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of wrap this one up here. My final thoughts on the whole entire line. Obviously, I love all the fragrances. I think they're all incredible. They're all remarkable in their own regard. In terms of my favorite ones, that's going to be tough. Really, it's going to be a tie between the EDP and this parfum. I don't really want to say which one's my favorite because it might change every now and then, just depending on, the season. Like right now in spring, I've been reaching for the parfum, but here coming up into summer, I might be reaching for the EDP and a little bit of the EDT as it warms up. So as of right now, my favorite, I'm probably going to have to give it to the parfum. I really, really like where they went with this version here. I just like that it's even more dark and mysterious than the EDP. Of course, next favorite up will be the EDP. I love that one. I love the amped up incense, grapefruit. Finally, my last place will be the EDT. Now, just to kind of quickly cover it again, my opinion, you're good with the EDP and the parfum. I would say most of you out there can skip the EDT. Again, I love it. I still do wear it, and for those who do like it, it's a great scent. But when it comes down to it, EDP performs better. It's a bit more well-rounded. The parfum performs even better. It's a bit darker and more mysterious. It's just kind of hard to recommend the EDT, especially at that price point. But if you're a die-hard fan of this DNA, if you've smelled the EDP and if you smelled the new parfum, but you never got around to smelling the EDT, it's pretty much guaranteed that you're really going to enjoy it if you like this one and the EDP as well. If you're a die-hard collector and you want to have it in your collection, it's definitely worth picking up because you're probably going to wear it. But I would say for most of you, if you just want to pick up one Bleu de Chanel, go with either the EDP or the parfum, your choice based off of the scent. I just think you're going to get better value out of those. So guys, that was going to do it for me. That was my Bleu de Chanel buying guide. Hopefully this helped you out, helps you make a decision in purchasing. They're all great scents regardless, and they've all left their mark in the community. That's going to do it for me, guys. I'll see you tomorrow night with another one. Take care.